So we're Greg and Nadia. We're part of the Business Central practice here at NetMonkeys. So I'm Greg Cooke, a developer here at NetMonkeys. And with me I have
Nadia, and I'm responsible for the Business Central consultancy side.
So I guess we'll get started about how we work together and how Business Central sort of gets implemented. So I guess that's over to you to start.
Yes, I think the Business Central and the way it gets implemented starts with us, with the people. In our modern technology world, we are still people behind the software and behind the screen. So I suppose we could introduce ourselves first. Talk about that.
Sure.
My experience lies on three pillars. Two of them are financial. I've been working with risk management at the beginning of my career and continued into accountancy, senior accountancy, leading me naturally to the other side of the story, where I was helping and supporting companies who have just gone live with their implementations. And as time grew, I grew together with it, and now here I am.
So how many years have you been in Business Central? And I guess Nav, when you started, was it?
It was 5th version, probably at least 10 years, I'd say.
So yeah, my role, so I'm a developer, so I work to modify and extend Business Central, trying to really sort of tweak the product to help it meet the customer needs or add new features that a customer might need that the standard Business Central package might not come with. So I've been involved in developing Business Central for about 4 or 5 years now. I came from an end user, a big manufacturer, and when I started there, we were using Nav 2017. We went to Nav 2019. And I was part of the team that then took it up to Business Central 22, I think we went to originally, which, as you know, is quite a big move from Nav to BC, and I assume an issue a lot of people have got to tackle. I was part of the team that did that. And yeah, now I'm at NetMonkeys and hoping to start helping implement BC and put it in for our companies and make it fit well.
So, Greg, from your experience, what do you think are the most popular pain points?
So ERP's full on, isn't it? It's the core of the business, I'd say. That's my experience with it. And so it's easy to have a lot of pain points depending on the business, whether that's training and documentation.
I mean, is there even a customer or a company that has no pain points at all with theirs?
So I'd be very surprised if they did. That's the dream really right there, but yeah, you see a lot of process and a lot of admin go into an ERP system, so a lot of pain can come around that sort of stuff. And you have a lot of businesses that use a lot of Excel sheets, a lot of paperwork, and I'd say particularly in the UK, a lot of businesses haven't really embraced ERP, particularly small and medium businesses, I'd say. The large businesses, they invest heavily in it, don't they? And you'd be surprised to find one of them without one. But I know of like a lot of small businesses that, you say small 20, 30 people that are still ticking along with Excel sheets and emails, and they just lose out on a lot of communication, data.
So let's think about an average medium-sized company. What do you think is the starting point? Where could you say, well, let's imagine they've just had an implementation. They're very happy. Their requirements have been gathered. Everything's been mapped, documented, tested out. Everything's working smoothly and perfectly. When comes that point, or what triggers it, when they start experiencing pains with what they have? It seemed to be so perfect, and then all of a sudden, it's all wrong.
It comes from a lot of places, I think, like turnover of people. Generally, a lot of the time, any processes all fall back to people. And if people change, the documentation's not there or the onboarding isn't there, you find people are working with a system that they don't know how to use and haven't been trained on effectively. And that's quite a common problem for these smaller, medium businesses, that they struggle to invest too heavily in documentation. And then with a bit of turnover as people move on, it's a challenge. What's your sort of view?
I think you're definitely mentioned a very good point there in terms of training and documentation. This is normally an internal process that is undervalued and it is, of course, an internal time that needs to be invested, and companies would prefer to use this time for looking for new opportunities rather than getting people to be sidetracked and writing up some user guides. But this is where we can come and help. But I believe what we can also do is free more time for businesses to go and get those opportunities by this is the conversation that we can have, and that every single customer really and business in this modern world need to start thinking about. So the question is, how ready are you for Business Central? That is when you realize that you need more time, more free time to go ahead and pursue those new opportunities. Because with an ERP software like Business Central, you can have so many processes automated. I think nowadays, many companies would probably fear that if they start changing the way they are already working, it might jeopardize where they are. It might perhaps put the knowledge of the people into jeopardy. Somebody may not embrace the change and want to leave. But the thing is, if the software does it all for you, you've not lost on the people, you've not lost on that knowledge. Let's get everybody to work and grow the business. And I think that brings us to the next point. Nowadays, it's very important that the software grows together with you. So one of the pain points and biggest pain points in my mind is that the company grows, the business grows, but the software stays the same. Whereas nowadays, Business Central in cloud gets updated every half a year with minor updates every month. You are on top of the latest technologies, living in this hyperspeed world. You don't have to even think about upgrades. Microsoft does it.
I was going to say that it's not just the business itself that grows, the technology as it grows. Over the last 10 years, it's been massive that we've gone from Excel sort of leading a lot of the stuff in the internet, ERP's been around, and then AI has come in hugely in the last few years. And to really be able to take advantage of that, you have to have a system that gets kept up to date. And I think there's quite a lot of businesses that have these bespoke systems that are just unmanageable for them now, and they struggle to keep them up to date. And that's why I think Business Central comes in really well, that with the package it gives you this core feature set that fits your business, and they'll keep that up to date for you, and they'll keep that with all the new features, and Copilot's coming massively into Business Central, and it's all really exciting in my eyes.
Exactly. That's a perfect use case scenario. When, for example, this new sales order agent in Business Central can free up at least one person to go ahead and win your business in your company, because sales order agent can monitor your shared mailbox for incoming queries. It can automatically prepare a response for you with the requested items on the list, have the availability checked, the next date the items will be available if they're not, and suggest a proper email response for you to review and send back to the customer. Can you imagine doing it yourself, going through different Excel spreadsheets, trying to understand what are the logistics behind it, what items are the best fit, what quantities do you have, and all that just done in seconds.
Yeah, I think that's then where development and customization can really come in. That I do believe that every business is different. Even businesses in the same market operate slightly differently, because the people is sort of what makes a business. But there is quite a lot of similar patterns within every business. Finance generally has very similar patterns, sales, manufacturing, warehousing. You don't necessarily need to reinvent them sort of core parts. That's where something like Business Central, where Microsoft supports all that side of it, and then we can come in and help this fit well into your business, or add the features that might just be custom to you. And there's so many examples of that I've been a part of, whether that be like a quality system that needs to be quite big in there and start tracking all that side of it, or you might have some customality around your items. And
So are you saying that pretty much Business Central as a solution is a good fit for any business?
I'd say so, in particular over their investment recently. It's gone from, back when it was Navision, it was really a finance system, wasn't it, that has slowly evolved. But now they have like manufacturing, warehousing, subscription billing, the service side of it. I think you'd struggle to find a business that wouldn't be able to use Business Central in some way.
And most importantly, Business Central as a system is not just shaped or driven by Microsoft vision. Microsoft is getting a lot of its ideas from businesses all over the world, sharing their experiences and improvement ideas. So the functionality within the system comes already prepared for adopting the best practices that you would want to implement. All we need to do is just tailor it. And I think that's a tremendous advantage that cloud software like Business Central has in comparison to a rigid system, even if it's been fully customly developed from scratch.
Yeah, you might have a fully bespoke system that fits the business really, really well, but then a new technology comes along and you all of a sudden can't embrace this technology because the amount of development that it takes to get that technology in your system just for you, it's just too much and unaffordable for a lot of companies. If you had a bespoke system, how are you going to integrate Copilot effectively? I just don't see how you could.
And what happens as a result, I see it already from what you're saying, is that a rigid snapshot of how you see your systems be at that moment or when you go live, if the system is not changeable easily, is not adaptable easily, what will happen is that it will become a blocking point for business growth and development, because you will have to follow what the system does, and it's not flexible to do anything else differently. And you cannot perhaps do things quicker because there are tools that allow you to do it. Other businesses will take advantage of it, but you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think with this, what advice would you give to a business that considers an ERP?
I might be a bit biased, but I think an ERP is a must-have in the current sort of market. It's such a technology-driven industry. All industries are technology-driven now, and an ERP really just solves a lot of problems, centralizes all your data, and really enables you to take advantage of any technology you want. What would you tend to advise as sort of signs?
I'd say the most important thing is, of course, study. You need to study the systems and what they can do. But most important, you also need to study your business well and understand what you need. And when you are searching for that perfect ERP, do try and see through how a certain process that you have is going to walk through that new system that you are looking at, rather than looking at separate, isolated functionalities. For example, an ERP in itself can separately manage the warehouse, or separately manage the finance, or separately manage the manufacturing. But if you would like to pick from the warehouse and deliver it into the manufacturing site, and all within one system, it might not actually talk together. So, you're looking at the list of what it can do. It seems like it does what it needs to be doing, but as soon as you start following a process, it falls apart.
Yeah, I would say that going towards one ERP system rather than having like a finance system, a warehouse system, a CRM system, it does give you quite big advantages as a business. So in the past, I've been quite heavily involved in data analysis, and it makes it so easy that all the data is in one place. You already know how it's all related. And so being able to access that data and then use it as a business to empower yourself, Business Central really makes it a lot easier than other implementations do. Of if you have Sage for one side and you have a custom warehouse system or a CRM system, they just don't communicate and they don't relate effectively.
So do you think you can share some real life cases of where Business Central made a difference, or it would have been a better choice or a decision for that particular company or a business?
Yeah, so my previous experience, they really did heavily embrace Business Central, and some of the benefits they had is that their finance team could get down to that product level and understand that this product that we sold here made this much money, and they could do that almost down to the item, even within the shipment of this product that week and the next week. Well, that one made less money. Why did that happen? And they could really pinpoint exactly where that happened. It's like down to the shop floor level, or this supplier let us down, or the quality here let us down. And it really allowed them to make effective projects about how to improve their manufacturing and really then get the cost benefit out of these projects. They weren't spending much time thinking about where they need to improve. They're focusing on what they need to improve.
From myself, I can share an example. I think the most remarkable point for me to understand the power of having an ERP system implemented was when I was working in accountancy, and I was working with Navision in those days, and an auditor came and asked, well, hey, look, here is a receipt. I've just been in one of your shops. We were a retail chain. Can you prove that that cola bottle has gone out of your system according to the first in, first out method? And that is when I was so grateful that we had an ERP, because it was so easy to trace it back down by the date, by the number, by the item. I could clearly show that this is the item that is accounted for according to first in, first out method.
I guess if you had multiple systems at play, you just wouldn't be able to do that. Or
only Navision. That's all it required. So that is the power of ERP. And we are here ready to share it with you at NetMonkeys.
So what advice would then you give to people that are wanting to implement it? How would they be a part of that journey?
Well, come and talk with us. Come and discuss what are the pain points that you are going through. Let's see how we can help you.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of like implementations, you do need to be a part of it. It's not an ERP is such a big part of a business. You can't expect it to be dropped on yourselves and just solves all your problems there. You really have to understand it, embrace it, and make it work well for you. And that's where people like yourselves that know a lot about the product can then work with the people inside the business that know the business very well to really make it fit perfect.
It's absolutely. The best solutions are always tailored, very individually tailored to that particular business. Although we're talking about an ERP being a framework, a set of different tools that you can choose from, we need your advice and your help and your knowledge about your business process to meet with our expertise about the system to find that perfect solution.
And that's why I get excited as a developer when a company they understand their business really effectively and they've identified a way that they can improve the system to really help them. And they tell you exactly what they want, and we can take that away and then deliver it in Business Central for them. And there's so many good ideas inside of businesses, and it's nice to be able to take them on board and then effectively roll them out to them. Whether that's through modifying Business Central or embracing the other technologies that sit so close with it. So Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate all sit so close now to Business Central, especially with it being on cloud. You can really find the best solution for customers.
And it can be also a cost-effective solution. It doesn't have to be nowadays absolutely all resolved with one app. Why invent the wheel if there is a perfect product for managing customers? Or there is a perfect product for marketing, or a field service, you name it. Microsoft offers a huge variety of products that support different areas that you can use in your business with a specifically tailored functionality. which we can then integrate with Business Central to provide the best experience, which will be absolutely seamless, rather than trying to create all of it within the ERP product as it's used to be, and I think still traditionally is done by many, many, many companies.
Yeah, and even on top of that, when you're developing Business Central, there's stuff to be wary of. Like I always say, there's a big balance between extending the product versus modifying the product. And when it was Navision and before the cloud, you were really always modifying the product. Whereas Microsoft have really shifted Business Central on the development side to extend the product. And that's what works really well with businesses, where you don't need to reinvent the core processes that happen in Business Central. And you don't need to modify them. And sometimes you do have to adapt your business a little bit to the standards in Business Central. But when you can extend them and add, like, this process works really well, but we also need these additional fields or this additional information, it's something that works really well and really fits a business well.
So how does that work then with the standard upgrade?
So Navision to Business Central has been quite a big change, particularly on the back end. The whole programming language changed in the back end, and they really moved from a modification idea to extension. What that means, and there's a lot of customers that are moving from BC 2017 on Navision up to the modern Business Central, which is version 26 at the latest. There's a lot of upgrade changes. And for me, you really have to have a think about, is it worth upgrading and migrating all the way through the versions and going through all the schema changes in the back end that come with that? Or do you think about, we have this old version, let's re-implement Business Central, the newest version, and not have to take ourselves through all these midpoints? Because there's a lot of time that needs to go into upgrading. So I think off the top of my head, to go from BC 14 to BC 26, you have to upgrade 3 times because of the schema changes that happen. At that point, I generally recommend that let's take your old system, let's replicate that in Business Central and re-implement it. And that's when maybe businesses can take a look back and say, we really like this product, but we didn't like this part of it here for us. Well, let's change that for them. And you're not locked in where if you upgrade for your data in a lot of ways sometimes locks you into staying with what you've got.
That brings us to the beginning of the conversation where I mentioned that you will become a slave of the solution you implemented years and years ago.
I'd say it's not as scary as, like, if you're re-implementing from a different product, they are become big challenges. But re-implementing from an older Business Central and now to the newer Business Central, the core fundamental is still the same. So your core data all will sort of stay in the same format. And Microsoft have got a lot of tools in there to help you pull that data out and get it into your new system really quickly. And it takes away all that worry about doing an upgrade and hoping that it goes well and the SQL doesn't have any issues. And you can sort of take your time with it as well. You don't necessarily need to think, this weekend we go from this old version to this new version. Once it's done, it's done. And if there's any issues, you have to deal with them. You can really take your time and make it work well.
So come and join us for a conversation together about your business, about how we can make you grow. We have a plethora of experience across a lot of industries, non-profit, aerospace parts, retail, gaming, medical, you name it. Come and talk to us about how we can help you grow together.